everybody. Welcome back down to the bar. 100 proof Whitetails. Dad swung down tonight. Nate's taking the night off. We just got done having some dinner on the back patio, some venison tacos from, Curly. And figured we'd talk a little bit about what we got left to do for game planning before season, what we've got done, what we might not have got done from the episode last time with Dad, and a lot of folks liked seeing him on the show, so I asked him if he'd be interested in swinging back down tonight, and he said, well, if you're cooking tacos and want to have me over, sure.
Well, I'm pretty much up for food any place where it's at.
Yep. So this is actually kind of a little milestone episode. This is episode number 40 that we've done. So kind of a cool little milestone. And I actually went back the other day because Nate asked me how many we'd done because he got asked by somebody. And I said, I never really even kept count. So I went back and counted them. And like between the original name and then the 100 proof name, we've done 40 of these live Q&A podcasts, not counting like our live tastings and those other videos and the whiskey videos and stuff like that. Just actual like 100 proof Whitetails stuff, and the old name. We've done a combined 40 shows. So this is episode number 40 is what we got going tonight. So, so we didn't put in any brassica plots this year on any of the pieces.
Not as of yet. We still have time.
A little bit, yeah.
We haven't tore up a lot of ground at this point, but we have a couple of places we probably could that we didn't have that fungus in it too bad.
Yep. Yeah, because it looks like I have a little bit extra 100 proof mix right now. So if anybody's looking for a little plot topper, you spread your seed out a little uneven, had a bad take, had some flood, anything like that, wiped out your brassica crop, we can hook you up with a little bit of the plot topper mix, a little bit heavier on the radish, a little bit quicker germinating, a little bit faster growing, kind of tweak to that mix so you can get something going. And again, Labor Day's coming. All the clover just came in yesterday, so clover blends will be going out soon too.
That plot topper is good for the procrastinators.
That's good for the procrastinators too, and it's good for the beans. Beans are starting to yellow up.
Yep. If you're doing a outlaw food plot, it's a good time to get it in the beans, and when the beans are gone, you'll have a nice salad dish right there for them. So yeah, that's exactly time to get that done.
Yeah, Nate actually just took because he bought a couple acres from me this year. He took the rest of it. And he just spread it in the beans because they're starting to yellow over on his one lease piece.
Yeah.
So he got his little outlaw plot done the other day. He said Owen went down for a nap. Liza went down for a nap. He said, I'm gonna grab some seed and go spread it out there. So he was able to get that done the other day. So it's a good time for outlaw plots. I don't know if I assume they're probably gonna fall plant over at Grandma's, so we probably won't outlaw plot over there. I bet you they're gonna harvest those beans and drill it right in.
Yeah, no, that'll be alfalfa and whatever they're putting in there for their green chop right after. That's why they put it short term for bean, and that way they can get right back onto it and get the alfalfa established.
Yeah.
So,
and he said that he's gonna go high end. He's going Roundup Ready alfalfa to get some of those weeds out of it and stuff.
Well, and that beans being there, that helps too. Gives a little kick in the ass with the nitrogen and so on. But he's gonna switch his gears up a little bit. I don't know what he had problems with exactly there, but competition's competition.
Well, I think that there was a lot of, because the farmer before that put it to that 1 year of cereal grains, and it all went to seed on them. A lot of it went to seed that 1 year. Was it rye? I can't remember. Was it rye or wheat?
I think it was wheat. But
I think it might have been wheat.
Got laid down a bunch of it, but
it got laid over with the rain. Kind of didn't stay upright with the root structure. I don't know if it just had bad developed roots or what it did, but a lot of it laid over and had a lot of volunteers, so it ended up in thick carpets in a lot of spots in that field. And I think you couldn't get ahead of it or get it established up.
Well, there's no getting ahead of it if it's not Roundup Ready. It's you're kind of locked in as far as what you can put to it and so on and so on. So yeah, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I don't know if he drilled any like orchard grass or Timothy in with it. I think it was pretty much just a straight alfalfa run for the most part.
Yeah.
So I guess he could have clethodomed it, but I don't know if that's restricted use on the farmer side in New York or not too.
I don't know that, and or how does that affect the alfalfa? Is that
That
susceptible to that too, or
Clethodom's going to be your grass killer. So
that's a grass killer? But
yeah,
young alfalfa is not real tough,
right. And I don't know if it might not be labeled for use on agricultural use alfalfa either, because it's not on the
Right.
label. Technically,
Right.
even if it just kills what your target is in it, but it's not on the label to spray in a agricultural setting for
Right.
that, for crop feed or whatever.
Yeah,
You can't do it.
No, don't want to go off label.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna get yourself in trouble with everything else. So
Mhm.
that's not worth the
Yeah, because
sticking your neck out for
one
that.
of the actual main uses for clethodum is in tree farms, Christmas tree farms, because you can spray it around the Christmas trees and keep the grasses from choking them out when they're little.
Yeah.
You can spray it around, and that's one of the main things that's on the label for.
But aren't there certain times with the Christmas trees when they're in a certain growing
Oh, I'm
stage when
sure.
you can't, and it'll knock them back too? When they got that new 3-inch or 2-inch or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure with the new growth in the springtime, I wouldn't be hitting them hard with any kind of spray around them, even if you're being careful or, on label, especially. But
Yeah, having said that, I noticed a little Christmas tree farm that's just getting established this past week. It looks like they sprayed it,
Yeah.
in the trees.
Mhm.
So that would lend to the idea of off the young growth.
Yep.
It's not going to be
It's hardened off for the winter.
Yeah, getting to the point where it's not susceptible to the chemicals.
That the one that's right there going into Lions.
Yeah,
down there on the
down on the
north side of the road. Yeah. I was wondering. I figured that's what they were doing because it was too regimented. It wasn't like spatial planted, like they're going to let it grow up. And
now
that they've sprayed it, you definitely
it's yellowed up pretty good too. So it's yellow lines in the green, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's definitely spraying out the grasses or spot spraying around it or something.
Eliminating the competition.
Yep, keeping them growing good. The ones we got here at the house, we got some blue spruce and Douglas firs actually planted out by the birds for a few Christmas trees. I don't know what we got, probably a dozen of them or so. They're doing okay. A couple of them. The one right on the corner trees never last. They always get rubbed by deer, peed on by the dog or whatever, and they have a harder life on the outside there. Usually those corner trees for marking territory, whatever you want to call it. Deer rub them on the corner ones, or they'll go right down the damn line of them either. And that's why we don't really plant our Christmas trees. We kind of stagger them and offset them too, so it's not running down that straight line thing like Wes's house. Wes has got
yeah, but he took a whipping on them. But one year they ate them all up on them. They didn't.
Yeah,
they rubbed on them hard too, but that one year they just ate them right to death as high as they could reach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and then they don't grow back. They're not like deciduous trees.
No,
they don't make it. A couple of the ones we got planted there by McGregor's garden, they're getting pretty big. A couple of them are.
Yeah, but I see one of the bigger ones got the top out of that too. You know how they get that top that wilts off onto it, and then it
bolts, and then it kind of falls. Yeah. I don't know. Like again, I've never had to trim Christmas trees or anything like that. The only thing I've really done pruning to was ornamental trees and then fruit trees. So I've never had to trim or shape evergreens. I don't know anything about that kind of side of stuff.
No, that's pretty easy. Just trim them up.
Yeah. Obviously, probably. I'm assuming wintertime, probably in dormant season when everything's hardened off. New growth hasn't emerged yet.
I don't know exactly when they do, but some guys trim them with a real sharp blade like a machete.
Yeah, kind of.
They don't trim them with a pinch shears because it crushes the thing. If you trim them with something real sharp, then they tend to bush out and thicken up too, I guess. So
yeah, one of the agents that was actually at my orientation, his family's got a big Christmas tree farm, so maybe I'll reach out to Bob Holby and see what they do for trimming Christmas trees and stuff like that, because the one out in the side yard's kind of got that weird bolt, not as big as the one that was by McGregor's old garden, but it's got a decent, it's bolted, a good 10 inches, but before it starts, getting that top wilt out, because once they do that, they kind of invert in the top and they don't ever point out nice.
If you're making them Christmas trees, it doesn't much matter. They're going to only get so big anyway. So, as big as you allow them.
Right.
But the fact is, they lose that top sprig coming up. They're not going to get real tall.
Yep.
Down the road.
No, absolutely. So, but yeah, other than that, corn went in. We borrowed the county's no-till drill, kind of like we talked like we were going to do this year, and it's a learning curve with it. I think we finally got the drop figured out, but we got to plug every other gate because we put it in too many rows too thick.
Well, the shutoffs weren't working right onto it. We tried to
Yeah.
get them to shut off, and
They just
they didn't work out. A couple of them did, and some of them didn't, and that's an issue. But the other thing is, I was out, and Joe and I were looking at it, and the places where it's not flat because that's such a big machine, there's no plants because the cutter, the coulters don't get down in the soil. So obviously,
or it could be putting them in too deep too, and those depends on
well,
how we're running it.
No, it's the shallow part of a flat on not being flat. That's what
Gotcha.
we're looking at.
Okay.
You know, because obviously that would show just the opposite: concave, convex. You know, planted in the middle, not on the sides. Planted on the sides, not in the middle.
Get that valley effect going where you're going over the top and you get that valley look.
You get the same thing if it was the opposite. You had a ridge, and that was running behind that ridge, and there's nothing on either side.
Yeah.
But I gotta.
Well, we were limited too because of the horsepower size of the tractor. You know, a bunch of different kind of factors with that. So again, we were just trying to learn with it. I think we got our rate. Our drop rate, if that makes sense, how often it was dropping is pretty decent. It's just blocking every other gate, so we have adequate row spacing. I think is where we came up short with it. And it kind of looked when we were picking rows, it kind of looked like it was doing it, but it was kind of hard to tell. We were drilling into. We were legit no-tilling it. I mean, there was no. It was right into goldenrod and thatch and.
It should have been sprayed, but that's it. That's it. It was a pretty sod base.
And I was impressed, but a heavy machine. I mean, that was
well, and it had new coulters too. That all helps, but the heavy slash as wide as it was, that's slightly detrimental. Can't get it in some of the plots where we could, because it was too big. And like I said, it wasn't flat as a platter. It's got skips in it.
Yep.
Which is, is what it is. I'd be interested to see if they get themselves a 6-foot unit, and that'll hopefully cut down on some of that hollowed out or bump or whatever you want to call it. And we'll be able to get it just about every place.
Yeah, that was the other thing with the 10. We couldn't get it out to a couple of plots.
10 shoot. That measured over 14 foot.
10 working with. Yeah.
By the time you got the wheels.
Oh, to the transport wheels and the turn knuckles on the end of the wheels to engage the drive and everything. Yeah. No, it was
14-foot gate. It was pretty tight.
Yeah.
You wanted to be lined up right the first time, otherwise you're in trouble.
Yep. Same thing. We had to take the pole down going up to top field.
Yeah.
The old light pole that was there on the corner. It was just a old utility light, is what it was pretty much. There between a couple of the old migrant shacks.
And even then, get around that tree. It was
tight.
It was tight. No, it was no extra.
It was tight.
It wasn't no extra for sure.
And had to trim all the laneways back.
All that had to get done. We got it. Yeah, we didn't get them all back, obviously. Otherwise, we'd have got a couple other places. But
the
places we had to put some effort in to get it there for sure.
Yeah, and I think getting it definitely. I don't think the 10-footer's going up without doing some laneway work going up to First Trail there. That's a pretty steep little.
Well, now that we got the UTV and stuff, we got to trim them trails up accordingly and knocking the lights off the roof of it. That ain't no good.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I put in the description of the video, was talking about some of the new toys and stuff like that. Some of it's good. Obviously, like Dad kind of lent to. Just got it a side-by-side for spraying. He offered to let me use it for whitetail properties and all that stuff for touring parcels and listing parcels and stuff like that. So I'm thankful for that. Real nice unit, super low hours. That had no time on it.
No, pretty good shape.
Yeah, the guy even delivered it to us.
Yeah, so, he's a head mechanic where where he works over there. So
Bibbins or something, I think.
I
and
forget
Weedsport,
what it was. Yeah,
something like that.
I think so.
Yeah,
but so obviously it's had whatever it needs to have.
Yeah, no, he was up on the maintenance on. He said he'd just done the service on it this year and everything. So
and the accessories are all Polaris too. It's not like something he's getting off on eBay or something. But yeah,
for sure. So no, it's a nice unit. Me and Hannah took it for a ride. I know you and Mom have taken it for a ride a couple times around. It's a comfortable ride to get around. Haven't taken Nora on it yet. but I think it's coming because we can strap her in with the seatbelt and stuff like that.
And that's bumpy though. That she can't hold her head straight. That's
Yeah, putting up
that's
to
an
camp
issue.
or something. Yeah, it's I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, there's plenty of time for that.
Well, true.
Although I'll be right straight with you. If I had my druthers just by myself or whatever, go for a putt, I'd do the 4-wheeler.
Yeah, no, it's the same.
It gets to be too bigger, you know.
It's tight in places.
Oh yeah,
you know,
but
I mean, we haven't even tried to take it into the woods yet. We've just done on trails with it. You know, so
right.
that 4-wheeler is nice for getting in and around stuff.
Yeah.
Less blind spots if you're backing up because it's got the cab on it. You know, not doored cab, but the roll bar cage or whatever you want to call it with a windshield.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit trickier when you're backing up and out in the woods with stuff. So, like you said, we got trim trails up so we don't wipe the lights off the light bar with it. So it was a little tight on third trail, a little tighter than I remember it being in the spring.
All the trails,
Yeah,
except for first trail,
yeah, or top
field rather. I mean,
yeah. Top field was wide open. That was actually dropping pretty heavy. That's been one of the hot cameras of the.
Well, that's the early max. Yeah, it's always puts a bunch of them on the ground there.
That's always been one of the really good.
Yeah, but
late August and September for trail cameras.
The early max. That's because it's
when they're dropping
truckloads on the ground, literally.
Yeah, because they were saying that they were starting to pick apples up in Williamson and stuff already. Some of the earlier varietals. So, what's your thoughts? Do you think we're going to have an early fall this year? Do you think we're going to have more of a normal, I guess, fall? I mean, last couple we haven't had a cold. They haven't had the frost anyway.
I don't know. You want to tell me you're going to predict snow or not snow or what's next on your question list? Mm-hmm. I will say though, I think it's going to affect the colors on the leaves because you're not dry like you usually are in the fall. We had a lot of moisture. We've had a lot of moisture in August, so I think that's going to affect the color for all you leaf peepers. But and the same thing too, depending on. If we get a hard frost, that's the end of it anyway. But I think it'll be green like it has been in the past couple of years for a while. Yep. And I mean like into the winter.
Yeah. The only thing that I see a difference with that a little bit this year is, but again, there was September dropper. So, I mean, we're right around the corner. It's the 21st August when we're recording this episode, and the walnuts are dropping already. They're dropping the walnuts.
Half of them got any leaves on them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what mostly I was mulching this week when I was mowing at the college. I was mulching walnut leaves, because they were dropping intermittently, and we can still grind them up real good with the blades, without a mulching kit on them because they're small leaves anyway. But yeah, they're dropping the walnuts already and everything. And usually that's September, but
yeah,
it's a little early. I think it's just because everything came out early.
And the hickory nuts are dropping too.
Well, it's just
I seen them on the road the other day. It's like, even right, what all that on the road?
Well, it's the same thing that a plant's got a maturity date. So if they came out early, like we were saying, a month early this spring,
right? Well,
it still takes that X number of growing days to make a
90-day corn, 120-day corn. It's the number.
Saw freaking corn getting chopped the other day.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's probably chopping corn. That's not.
Oh, it's silage corn. Yeah, it's not. No, it's definitely silage corn for cows, but that's early for bunk. I mean, usually that's 2-3 weeks early. But I was talking to the Seedway guy, Mason, when he dropped off the clover the other day, and he was saying, what the heck was he saying? 60 days or 6 weeks. 6 weeks after tassel is when most folks usually chop for silage corn. It's usually a good rule of thumb for most of the varietals that they use for silage offerings.
Ear onto it, so they got that.
Yeah, and have the right moisture content in the mix and all that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, and I told him, I said I was cutting between County Road 6 and 14. I forget what road I was cutting on, but I passed a load truck with corn chop on it. And I'm like, holy smokes!
They've been running out north of the old house there, doing of course down the new road for a week. 10 days already.
Yeah. It's they get it in a month early, it comes off a month early. Right. I mean, it's
and if you got 2 months worth of chop to put up, you gotta get at it.
Start putting bunk up, yeah.
No,
makes sense. Makes sense. Mark Rasmussen tuning in says, good evening, guys. Evening, Mark. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I was talking to him the other day. He's one of my clients down there. I think he's still Schuyler County. right down there. Yeah, I think it's still Schuyler County down there. And he's building a cabin down there. He's got the whole outside all done up, log cabin. Actually getting the logs and having them done up, milled up and everything like that. Didn't outsource them. They're fairly local sticks by the sounds of it. Just sent the flooring log load down the road the other day to go to the mill to get the floors all milled up for it. So he's building a nice little cabin there down there
to live into, or just for
building he's got a little shop down there he's building too. He does Rod Tech Customs down there just south of us off of there's a 14A there goes out
that's
by
a place you used to build all
96A. Which one goes down before Geneva? 96A or 14A? Goes down toward like Penyan and stuff.
You're talking about the people who used to build all the little sheds and shit.
No, where Mark's shop is 14A.
Oh.
I think it's 14A or 96A. I've been driving so much, all the roads are blurring together for me. I've been driving north, been driving south, I've been driving all over for showing ground.
I don't know where it is, so I can't help you. So.
Yeah, Rod Tech down there. So just outside of Stanley. So down in that neck of the woods. Matt says you two are in a blind. State record at 400 yards, 1 bullet, 1 gun. Who's getting the shot? No emotions, just skills. Who's taking the shot at 400 on the state record?
The state record?
Yeah.
I don't really matter, I guess.
I'll give you the gun.
Well, okay.
If you're comfortable on it,
well, yeah, that too. And what do you support as far as a weapon and all that other stuff? But I'll just put this little tidbit in it. If then both of you and I are sitting in a blind together, it don't matter who shoots it.
Right. Yeah,
because we're there, it's sitting in the blind together.
Right.
So that question is kind of if you're new.
Yeah.
But that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. No, I don't think, if you're looking for I'd push him out of the way to pull the trigger. I don't think that would happen.
No, but after I shoot it, you're definitely going to get to gut it and tote it. So you'll get a particular,
Yeah, I'll get to hang out.
Yeah, that's right. You'll get to do whatever you got to do with it. But yeah. But no, I like I said, if we're together in the blind, it's probably going to get discussed and talked about more before than after the shot.
Yep.
So to speak. And that's just the way it is.
Yep. Circle on to Matt's follow-up comment with it. He says, no, I was just stirring the pot to see who's the better shot. I don't know. You're one hell of a shot. I've seen you make some freaking killer shots over the years.
Yeah, I can get it done. I can't get it done quite as good as I used to be able to, but that goes for a couple of things. We won't get into that, but
freaking off the lead bag with the contender at 300 yards, and nobody can hit it with the rifles.
Yeah, but it was consistent ding, 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 too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for that. And
there was that one deer with the muzzleloader that you.
Yeah. No, you're talking about the doe way out in the field. I shot that with a 20 gauge. Well, and from that big maple tree.
Well, that shot, Jesus, that shot out of the maple. Holy smokes! She was the third one that night.
Yeah.
She was out there at too far.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the 20 gauge.
Yeah.
Did you have a red dot on that or
No, it's got a two, just that junk 2-power that came with
that 2-power. That's what it was. That 2-power. I wanted to say it was a 3-power, but a 2-power. And you shot her just under 200 or right around 200?
No, it
was out there.
All of that.
It was out there.
When you put the 2-power on her and the crosshair is just about covers her up completely, it's about at the end of the scope.
Yep.
So, but no.
No, that one that you shot with the muzzleloader when it jumped up out of its bed.
Oh, that's the one that Butch shot with the muzzleloader, gut shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I snapshot it with a scope shotgun at about 20 yards.
That's what it was.
And shot it right through the heart.
Yep. Yeah, when you jumped her.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep. Yeah.
I knew there was a muzzleloader, but I thought you had your muzzleloader too. But
no. That day I had my old 870, and I've been toting that forever. So that was pretty much a spring into action, and Brown shoot it.
Yep. There she is. Trail's going there. Boom.
Yeah. But no, we were standing around watching it and laying there, and it was getting antsy, and we're discussing who's going to shoot it, and no, you can't shoot it because you're going to shoot at Greg's house, and and that was it. It jumped up and kind of forced the hand,
cleared the line of sight, and good to go.
Yeah, I was with two of us that were in a position where we could shoot, and it went back up the hill besides, so it didn't like go down towards the bottom. But irregardless, it was. I was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everybody else that was standing there was a little surprised too.
Yeah. No doubt. That's actually one of the things that we haven't. I don't know if we've shared the deer together from the tree together or the blind together right off. I can't think of one. Turkeys, a lot of turkeys.
Yeah.
We've sat a few times together, but sat a couple times on your birthday together.
Yeah.
We just never had the right deer. Well, I take that back. I swung my feet a lot of times and screwed up a lot of deer hunts, and we've told that story before on the show. I was swinging my white feet, scaring the deer coming down the side hill at us.
Scared turkeys too. Same goddamn thing.
I did a fair amount of scaring and learning how to scare them good.
Yeah.
So
I used to pull off some pretty good shots with that 22-250 on them woodchucks too.
Yeah, you were poking them out there. You and Ed. Ed wasn't running a 22-250.
He had one too.
Was it
same thing? But he had a bull barrel on his. But
that was a bull barrel.
Shot that goddamn fox at about 500 freaking yards. It was trotting that one day with Bailey. We're both getting ready, putting on to him, and I just happened to squeeze it off and get him before Ed did, and it's like, son of a bitch, That was like, oh, wow. But anyway, and that was like another one of them things. You put the crosshairs on them, even up on. It was just a 9-power on that old gun, but put the crosshairs on them and they disappear. You got to pretty much figure you're on them or not, And at that point, there's a little bit of, I'm feeling it. I'm pointing it. It's going to go where I'm pointing it.
Right. Yeah, and I talk about that a lot of times when I'm settling down to shoot on something, that everything almost slows down, but then everything almost kind of goes blank for me. When I go into that mode, when everything's squeezing off, everything just kind of goes blank and kind of gray in that moment of squeeze. Like kind of your mind kind of takes over for you, so to speak.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that, but that's how it's getting more and more, that you're doing what you got to do. You know where you got to be yardage wise with the bow or whatever, and you just go into like almost autopilot mode.
Well, that's exactly what you do. You know, and same thing, only different. When I used to coon hunt, I happen to be the ground man with the pistol. You're dealing with
the dog from getting cut up.
Well, if the dogs get bit up, then you're usually done for the night. Because you're going to take a hit on the nose. Can't correct no more, and you don't want them tore up either. So a lot of times they come down a little saucy. I'd have to put the 22 to them, but now you've got 3 dogs or 4 dogs that want to get a hold of it, and you're kind of in the dark and you're not running sights. You're just pointing it and putting it that quarter size dot. But that's just muscle.
Yep.
So.
Well, yeah. Matt says now we got the stories going. That's awesome. Yeah, we've shared some good times, and definitely some more hopefully to come. With Nora in the future and stuff like that.
Your mother got her a pair of earmuff things or whatever for a baby. It's like, hey, that guy.
I mean, I don't. That's the thing with those freaking blinds, dude. It's like a tin can.
Well, yeah.
I mean, obviously. First thing and foremost, make sure that barrel is outside. When I touched off that handgun when I shot St. Patrick, because of how I had to hold in the blind on him, the gun barrel was not outside.
Well,
that handgun, that was like a concussion flash.
Cylinder gun too.
Well, yeah, that
you got half of it comes around the cylinder before it goes out the end.
That was everything kind of went flashbang, like that gray, and ears ringing and everything like that.
I haven't shot one out of that blind. The contender, but I'll bet you with that barrel being out there about 6 inches past, I bet you that bitch is loud too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. That's a loud gun. It's a hand rifle.
Well, yeah, with a little bitty barrel on it.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing.
It's not a big beefy one or nothing.
No, but I'm talking about lengthwise. It's that 16-inch barrel is not a 24-inch barrel.
Yeah,
and not 30 inches out in front of you either.
No, absolutely. But Yeah, that's definitely one of the things with the blind. I don't think I would bring her in the blind right off necessarily with a firearm just because of that concussion bang that's
Well, I'll tell
inside
you
of that.
what, goddamn crossbow makes enough noise in there.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I've never touched one off inside the tower, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a rifle or anything, obviously, or a handgun, but
No, I'm sure there's a concussion
there's a lot of noise, even if you don't have it resting on the thing or on a a tripod or something. It still gets that
vibration shock. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it echoes inside like a drum.
Yeah, it's a tin can, you know. That's why we got the mats in there and stuff like that. Cut down on the.
Yeah, it helps, but it don't.
No, it's an enclosed space. You know, it's a tight enclosed space, and you're gonna get that pop. I mean, I've even been in, being I don't know all sorts of places consulting stuff like that. Like, there's good blinds, but they all got that tin canny kind of ness to
Even
them.
a wooden one does to a certain extent.
They do, and I've been in all of them. I mean, it doesn't matter. But that's a good tip for right now, and one thing that we need to, get on before September usually is when we try to get it knocked out. Stands trimmed up, towers checked for wasps mostly this time of the year, making sure they're all done up. So I actually one of those little hack tricks, those little portable fumers. You just open the door, drop a fumer in it, and that way anything that's up under the lips or anything like that gets
that's
out.
fine and dandy till you look underneath the bottom of the platform and there's a white-faced hornet's nest about the size of your head. Yeah. And it's like, well.
That was a fun one. I still can't believe we didn't get fucking stung doing that one. That one was... Me and Nate went up there, I think it was, right?
They're miserable as a bitch anyway.
Yeah, I think me and Nate went up there on the four-wheeler to try to get that down. I threw a freaking rake at it to open it up with the freaking spray can, because you got to open them up, otherwise you can't kill them.
You can't get into them.
Yeah, you got to open them up. So I threw the rake at it. Or Nate threw the rake. I can't remember who threw the rake right off. Started spraying, and then the four-wheeler wouldn't fucking go into gear to get going. So we're sitting there freaking... And you saw him as soon as it ripped open. Of course, it opens up like a freaking pinata from hell.
Well, you obviously guys aren't professional because neither one of you do that for a living. So
I'm all set.
What?
That's why we took it off of our license at the college.
Well, and it's like at one time, like I had that big nest on that house I took off for that lady, and I had Becky with me, and she was running a flashlight because I was doing it after dark because it was up in the peak of the house. And I told Becky, I says, whatever you do, don't shine that flashlight on me, because them goddamn bees will fall right down there. They'll be on me like stink. Yeah. And same thing. Got to open it up, spray it, and then.
That's how you get them knocked out.
Yeah. Well, you just no way around it. Unless you got a branch up that they're hanging off of, then you stick the branch in the bag and snip it off, and
done that too.
They're done. But they don't work so good when they're hooked to something.
No, we've done that. We've done at the college. We've done it where you drive the pickup truck underneath it and you snip the branch and then go take it and dump it down in the quarry.
Yeah, same idea.
Do that same idea. Yeah. Yeah. Mark commented in 14A. Yeah, so I was right with one of my guesses. 14A down there in Hall, Rod
Tech.
There you go. That's his custom shop. He's got a lot of cool hot rods and stuff he does. I know a couple guys that tune into the show that do some custom vehicle work. Do some really nice work. Mark and Russ both do some really nice work. So John Myers comments in, broker for us here in Whitetail Properties for New York team, says, "Hey Ben, Josh got his first deer of the year this evening. Unfortunately got it with his truck." Oh, that sucks. That's never good.
Well, unless you get a new truck.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to get a new truck out of it.
Well, you don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I hope Josh is good and nobody got hurt or nothing.
Well, that's the main thing. But
yeah. But,
that's why I look at it.
But yeah, they've been out moving the last few nights with these kind of little cooler snaps. We've had 50s in the morning. They've been out. Again, we don't run any cell cams, so I'm sure that there's I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of pictures over these last couple cool days. I'm sure it's gonna peak some activity. They're starting to feel a little froggy here and there. We usually start getting our first velvet shed right around the 25th of August is usually when our first few start shedding.
Yeah, that reminds me, I got to re-fence that pear tree. I ripped the fence down when I mowed, so before they wreck it.
Which one's that? The one down at First Trail?
Yeah.
down the bottom.
Yeah, right there by the laneway cut across.
Yeah, they'll tear that up. Especially
right there by the cut across.
Yeah.
I know
Especially
that
freaking.
and it's established nice. I can't believe I didn't wreck it with the mower.
You just must have caught it on the corner.
Oh no. I bent the post over and everything. I don't know why I didn't tear it up.
Oh, I didn't know you took the post off. I saw it all wadded up by the tower.
I brought the fence up, so I wouldn't run over it. And then when I went and mowed the trail, I ran over it.
Yep.
So
sounds about right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's definitely something we got to get out there.
Yeah, no, I keep thinking about it, and I keep
probably
forgetting about it.
Probably get a last spray on the plots, or maybe start working some up. We got cereal grains going in. Most everything's going to winter wheat. I mean, winter wheat and maybe some annual clover mixed with them. Some radish maybe. I got some tillage radish. I got a fair amount of that left over because I got to get a little bit extra of that every year for outlaw plots that people ask for and plot toppers.
Right. Well,
germinates a little bit better later.
See what the season pulls out too. Now they're talking about 85, 90 degree weather end of next week, and you know, if we get another week, 10 days after that, that's 95 degrees. I ain't not going to be out there doing a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. No, I hear that. It's hard on equipment. It's hard on everything.
And hard on me.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I know we got to get a few things knocked out for plots. I'd like to get turned around, obviously playing the first trail and stuff. You got a good whack on both of those with the spray the first time around.
Well, first trail had that hot mix in it with that
2,4-D.
Yeah. So I knew that was going to bite it, but I just couldn't see dumping it on the ground.
No, that was that.
Well, and then the same thing. Didn't want to go back right onto it and try to plant corn to it either after I 2,4-D'd it.
Right,
it wasn't gonna.
Right, we weren't out of that planting window.
No.
So, and that's why we kind of sprayed that out there first.
Well,
and that one had a little. That one's actually come around quite a bit. I like the way that plot is. Both that one and turnaround. I like the way that we expanded those when we had John come out and do them, and that's why we designed them that way. And they hunt way better now.
Yeah.
We still got to do some work down below first trail, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about a pond again, because that's right down below.
Well, you talking to?
I know.
Talking to Roger the other day there when we saw him.
I had other things on my mind with Roger though.
Yeah.
As far as doing some work for us, but I'd like to really scoop something out down there. Don't have to be real big, but for two reasons, like I said, the water and to get waterfowl and whatever down there, but strategically placed makes that more of a pinch point there where they come across that ditch.
Yep. No.
Especially if you make the mud puddle or pond or whatever you want to call it long, as opposed to round.
Makes a giant pinch right through there.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
And if you don't go too far, it'll push them a little bit to the end of that food plot up the hill on first trail, where they'll be forced to come into the end of it, as opposed to kind of busting out in the middle where that bump is.
Yep.
So it puts them in a better spot.
It works a couple different ways on it.
Right.
A couple different kind of couple different angles.
Well, it keeps them from coming out in your face.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that we've always struggled with that spot, and it's always been a good spot for it. It's kind of where when we tried to gum it out the best we can, when we cleared that out, we tried to pile brush in by the tower and stuff like that, and they still try to come out right under that on that ridge line.
Yeah. Wow, that's because
they've always run that ridge line.
It used to be the old trail that feeds that stand.
Yeah.
2-3 rows over used to be the main trail on that ridge. And they don't use it with the tractor anymore, orchard or whatever, but they still use it because it comes out. Well, it's just past that crest, so they get a little bit of topography there, and it slinks right out, and boom, they're right there. The good thing about that is, though, that better than it was, they kind of dips them down the hill when they come out, because it kind of pushes them away because it's grown up so much there by the stand. But it kind of don't come out in your face, like I said.
Yeah, well, we've done that kind of purposely. We let the
Oh,
locusts get a little woolly, and we piled some brush up there and stuff when we cleared that
And I got
extension.
cut that so I can reach down around that apple tree though too, because they're coming out below
yeah,
that.
the problem with
big
that,
time.
the problem with that apple, and it's a hell of a producer, but the problem with it is it cuts that shooting window down so much down below the hill from that stand.
It does.
It's tricky.
But once they get out
And
past,
we gotta top it so you can shoot.
well,
into
yeah.
by the ditch.
Once they get out past that apple tree,
No, I'm talking with the rifle. If you're looking across the wet spot down there, to be able to shoot that apple really kind of.
Well,
blocks
I
in that
think
shot.
I'd much rather cut it back a little bit, leave the apple, cut the field back a little scoop there, so you can shoot out of that window or that blind
Okay.
before they get there, because as opposed to you start whacking on that apple tree, you're going to kill it or something.
I can dig on that.
And it's not that old a tree. It's
No.
it's going to be there for a while.
Yeah, that one's. And that's why we kept it when we cleaned that out.
Well, yeah. There's been one up on the top there too that didn't have the.
Which I don't know. I don't know. And again, maybe no, it wasn't one that was cut off. I was gonna say maybe it's one that came back from like a root sucker. But when they cleared that, they never cut that, and it's well within the right of way.
Well, that's because that was when they had the hydro axe there, and I was babysitting them. I had the forester there. He was
it's because the line was goddamn 40 feet above the tree. We're like, that's never gonna touch that damn thing.
Right, but that's not what they're hired to do.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, he worked with me and left a few trees, and same thing with the edge. There's not straight line under that power line now either. There's a tree that sticks out, maybe one that didn't stick out so good, it's gone now. So yeah, but that all gives that feathered edge effect though too.
Yeah, that variable edge where it's not just a straight line.
Gives them that security.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Mark said started 4 mock scrapes Sunday, and they're hitting them already. We've had them within an hour, and I think that's just because they're coming back through and they're in good locations.
And now you start weighing in on deer run scrapes year round. So
yeah,
and then not just talking to bucks, the does running too, and.
I've gotten some better photos and videos of does jumping up, kicking them, and playing with them, and the little ones dancing around them. And
I got bad news for you: the fox and other stuff pisses at them too.
Raccoons, I got videos of raccoons jumping up and hanging off of the mock vines and stuff.
That's a territorial thing.
Getting sent up as high as they can, and
but no, it's it's starting to go. I haven't been out looking for that, but. There's
September.
places
we start getting some good pod ground in September. Usually we'll have a few flare up. Grandma's, for whatever reason, usually the scrapes hit early. I never kind of figured out why that is, but usually Grandma's is one of the first places I see pod ground. I mean, obviously we have them on scrapes, working the licking branch year round, but I'm talking that pod earth.
I think that's got something to do with being the bottom edge of territory per se, because it butts up against the hamlet there.
Yeah,
they're at the bottom there. That's their edge. That's as far as they can go per se, unless they're over on the power line. And then they can go quite a ways wherever they want. Yep. That's kind of it would be no different than if they're going along a river or a lake or something.
Yeah. Bottom edge of that swing.
Yeah,
it makes sense before they head back east, west, or north or whatnot.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense with it. Didn't think of it with that kind of bold mentality kind of idea.
Yeah. Well, it's a territory thing.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of
how that home range kind of sits in.
Yeah. Yep. You got the home range, and then you got the stuff that affects it. Like I said, lake, river, creek,
people,
ravine, people, houses, dogs, all the above.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Corey Kephart comments in, says this weather's starting to feel like bow season. It's starting to feel like September, but they're talking probably back up in the mid to possible upper 80s, beginning part of next week, and sunny. So
it ain't gonna feel like bow season then.
Not quite, especially when it's back up at 60s. The big thing is it's been down in those low 50s, almost 40, and that's the feel, that morning feel.
They said that on the news too, that you'd be up in the upper 80s and so on, but it'll still get down into the 60s as opposed to 75, 80, 82 degrees at night. That's
it's
not
in the 70s.
It's not what we got.
No, not anymore. We've kind of turned turn that corner with stuff, I think.
But I'll tell you, you go sit in one of those shacks or something, you'll cook in that in about 85 degrees.
It doesn't matter if it's 85, if it's 50 degrees and sunny.
Well, yeah,
you freaking cook in that thing.
Yeah. Well,
It's like an ant with a magnifying glass.
You got to dress accordingly.
Yep. So,
or don't.
Alrighty, another comment rolls in from Aunt Lynn.
Uh-oh.
Comments in, says, saw new hunt private land signs today. What are your thoughts on persons hunting land that they have no idea where the boundaries are? Hashtag know what's behind your shot at all times. I couldn't agree more. The short term 1 day permission leases kind of thing. It's a revolving door. You don't know who's in there, as long as their credit card swiped through or whatever. I'm not a big fan of that.
Well, we talked about it a little bit prior to, and it's probably in particulars to the comment we just got. The liability issues and stuff and so on and so on. They're operating assumably under being able to sign off liability. Well, you can't do that in New York State. So that, and there's a bunch of other issues on legality as far as leasing property from somebody, having somebody lease property for you to somebody. So be forewarned, you might be getting into something you might not want to be into.
Yeah, without contacting your attorney proper and
yep.
Looking through all the legal steps. So that, again, just because they sign a waiver that says they're not liable, that don't mean nothing.
You can't
even if you have an insurance policy, that's
that was the first thing they tell us when we were racing motorcycles.
Yeah,
you got to sign this release, but you can't sign your liability issues off in New York State. That's it.
Yep,
that's it.
Pretty much. Exactly.
That's exactly no fault insurance.
Well, and that's the same thing. Money is exchanging hands. The landowner is then liable for damages, injury, etc. And that's from the individuals or the agents or whatever that come off of your land on stuff or do the damage or whatever.
Yep.
You're then liable because you collected the payment on it. Even if there's a no harm waiver or whatever you want to call it, that don't mean nothing in New York.
No. But don't.
And in most cases, it probably wouldn't make sense in most other states either. I don't know the local laws in other areas, but it's not the case in New York.
I got bad news for you. It's just like anything else. If you get in trouble, it's only as bad for you as the lawyer you got standing behind you.
Yeah.
Or lawyers.
Or next to you. Or
exactly. No, they're going to be standing behind you. Standing next to you don't get it done.
Sure.
They got to be standing behind you. Mm-hmm. So, having said that, while we're on that little tidbit of possible trespass, people don't know where they're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. I just got my hunting license here in the mail a couple of days ago, week, 10 days, whatever. And it come through and it looks about like a second grade test after lunch with little, I got mine right out here. With little pictures of turkeys and deer and stuff on a piece of paper that you got to cut out and paste and stick or whatever the hell they got you to do. Aside from that, in New York State, you don't need to have a back tag anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, I talked to a couple people, and the first thing out of their mouth is, how the hell do you identify a trespasser or anybody else for that matter?
Right.
Without
a back tag.
Without a back tag, and I had a pretty good reputation that when I was looking at your back tag, if I caught your raggedy butt on my ground, I would snatch the back tag off, and you could get it back from either the state police officer or the DEC officer, whichever came first. No. I got a couple of lickings about doing that, but the fact of the matter is, it pissed me off already, and I'm going to snatch your back tag off. Yep. And that's just the way it played. But having said that, you get in an instance now, you can't identify the individual. You can't get a back tag number. You follow him till your edge of the property. What do? Go trespassing on somebody else to follow him where he's going out to his vehicle? Right. Or do you...
Right. How do you do it?
Pound salt.
Exactly.
So whose big idea was it to eliminate the back tag thing? Other than somebody thought that they could save 50 cents on it.
Well, it's not even. I mean, that you can get copies made down at the library for 10 cents a sheet or 15 cents a sheet or whatever.
Yep.
You're not saving much.
No, you ain't saving nothing because you got to buy a handful of goddamn sandwich bags now to put them on your carcass.
Because I was told that you're not supposed to laminate them either.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
No, they have to be a physical paper license. They can't be a laminated
and
tag.
that's just paper.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
it's
gets
just it's
wet
just
or
a
something,
semi-hard stock.
that's comes
It's
right out of Xerox machine.
That's what. Yeah, it's semi-hard
And
stock. It's a little bit thicker than like standard printer paper, maybe, but ain't much.
that is. But when
Not much.
I went down to the town office the other day,
Doe tags.
and I didn't get it, but I inquired about it because I was curious.
Mhm.
And it basically, whatever comes out that copy machine, that's what it's going to be printed on.
Yep.
Plain and simple. Like I said, it looks like a second grade quiz after lunch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Corey comments in with it. So states working toward all electronic tags are going to be a thing of the past.
That's fine and dandy, but you get somebody old like me or somebody that doesn't have access to that stuff, then what do you do?
You know, Amish, the Amish community,
yeah.
or just whatever your
Or
personal
somebody-
beliefs are, or whatever
or
it might
somebody-
be, off-grid living or whatever.
Or they're hard-headed like me and they just don't want to participate in it like that. But that's not the way to go about it.
No.
And
you can't tell me that they're saving that much of your license dollars by going to paper over the Xerox paper that they used before.
They used to
That
piston moan because
Chloron or whatever.
because they couldn't get it, couldn't buy it, couldn't get it. This okay, let's
buy
solve
it
that.
damn bulk. Order from Amazon.
Case in point.
I'm sure Bezos would hook you right up with a whole freaking pallet of it.
Well, they also said, well, we got leftover color. Okay. So you standardize a color for New York State, and
it's always yellow,
and you order
or whatever,
orange, green, purple. I don't goddamn care. But you buy enough of it, so if you got 3-4 years of it, you got it.
Yeah. I can't.
And
imagine,
you probably got
I can't
it pretty
imagine
cheap.
It goes bad. You store it in a warehouse out of the sun and shit. I don't see it.
Heat will wreck it, but yeah.
Well, yeah,
you got to store it in a semi-climate control, and you might be able to get a deal on it if you bought 3 years of it.
Or 5, and then say, hey, guess what? Year 3, we got to order another 5 years worth to keep adequate stock in case we have increased hunter numbers, different tags come out, whatever. Extra doe tags, whatever.
Assumably, if you run short on that stock, you can continue getting said color because that's a stock color. And then what gets to be the 3-year, 5-year, or whatever, you should have had a handle onto it. How many you got left? Okay, 5 years into it, we're going to change the color. And do it all over again.
It's not rocket science. It's as simple as balancing a damn checkbook, which again, the state and our federal government aren't good at doing either of that either. So I'm not surprised that they went to paper, but I don't know. I can't see the reasoning or the benefit behind this versus traditional tags. I actually like a lot of those tags that I don't know which state it is. I think it might be Iowa. It's got the sticker tags. I always thought that those are pretty neat.
Yeah,
for the antler, or for you wrap it around the leg and you stick it back to itself, kind of like.
Yeah, and that cuts down on that double sticker stuff too, because once you stick that on there,
it's done.
Yeah, that's like that.
Yeah,
that wristband they put
on. And that's that's the trouble with the paper tags. I mean, even with that heavy duty tag, you'd have them.
Well, yeah, but
you'd have to make sure that they were secured well to the animal if you were dragging them out or anything like that, or had them in the bed of a truck.
Yeah.
This will rip like.
Well, you're supposed to put it in a plastic bag, fill it out.
Yep.
Put it in a plastic bag. Buy yourself a roll of plastic bags, or buy yourself a roll of tape, and then tape the shit onto them. Well, that's.
Yep. Snip your edges, which you can't.
No, you got to cut it out with a scissors too. It's not perforated.
Oh, like I said, doesn't even have the cutouts anymore.
No,
I didn't even look at that part of it. It doesn't even have your cutouts.
Why would they put a cutout? Why would they put a cutout in it? That's just paper. You put a string through that. That's not going to last 2 seconds. No, like I said, it's like a second grader goddamn test.
Yeah,
you get to use the round head scissors and match them up, and it's going to get worse, just like like they said.
Yeah, I could
definitely get the goddamn thing in the mail no more.
Yep. So, and again, carcass tags got to stay with the carcass. Antlers got to have the carcass stock number with it.
Yeah.
Corresponding. And report your tags. And that's something that me and Nate harp on with this show all the time. Is everybody complains that the DEC's estimates are out of whack. It's because people aren't reporting their tags and calling shit in. But we've talked about ways to combat that too, and we can go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Is you can't get your next paper next year until you fill out the 3-question survey. Did you kill a deer last year? Yes. Well, you didn't report it.
Yeah, but they're going to have to hire 50 different people to do that.
It's a basic 5-question questionnaire when you buy your license.
But still, it's still 50 position job.
It's the same person selling you your license. You take an extra 30 seconds to answer the questions.
Okay, now you got somebody you assume is going to be able to administer that test.
It's the same question they ask you when you're getting your doe tags. What zone are you in, or whatever?
Okay.
You know what? I get what you're saying with it, that it is more work. But
well, no, you got to rely on the individual. I got to watch what I say. You got to rely on the individual that's doing your paperwork end of it too.
correct.
If they're not the sharpest knife,
Or don't care
drawer,
that much about it, or
whatever. They're
whatever.
against that shit.
Possible too. Yeah.
Heaven forbid.
Mhm.
You know, there's numerous things that obviously when I peeled that out, it's like, what the Christ?
Mm-hmm.
It just, you know, it just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yep.
Other than the fact that, okay, I can understand you got to save $2 or whatever, but
yeah,
forethought would have fixed the problem. But
yeah.
having said that, the liability issues with the hunt clubs and stuff like that,
The 1-day permissions and stuff
yeah,
like that.
that's gonna get you bad trouble.
Yeah, no,
Bad trouble.
doesn't gonna work.
Well, and
it's gonna crash and burn at some point, and when it is, it's gonna crash hard. That's the thing.
Well, and the other thing too, it doesn't make you probably the most popular individual in the neighborhood if you've got neighbors that are trying to do other stuff.
Well, not
with
just
the game,
that.
because
not just that. Anybody in the neighborhood, doesn't matter if they're a hunter or a non-hunter. If
right.
you got a revolving door of, you don't know who the hell is going to be in there. It's not the same guy that's hunted that property for 10 years or whatever before that's hunting no more.
Yeah.
There's a blue Civic there today. There's a red Toyota there tomorrow. There's 2 cars there on Wednesday.
Yep.
You
Although
know,
that
you don't know any of
that particular circumstance with the 2 cars, the red Toyota and this and that, whatever, that could happen by an individual buying that property. But that's completely different than an individual that shows up there with 3 of his buddies to hunt that this afternoon.
Yeah. No, it's,
you know, because assumably if he owns it, he's going to take some responsibility, pride into it, et cetera, et cetera. But the individual that all he's got is whatever it costs him to be there for a short period of time.
Yeah, for the 1 day or whatever.
That's not gonna play out good at all.
Yeah, eventually it's got to crash and burn, dude. Like it's not.
You know, and that's gonna in our particular instance, it's gonna cost us some money and or time.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna have to wallpaper the borders and hope that the idiots that are there can read, or at least distinguish between 3 different color posted signs.
So
on the tree line.
I wonder how that. I would assume because they're paying for it, you could hold the landowner liable for not properly educating the people on his property to stay where the hell they're supposed to. I'm wondering.
Well, it goes deeper than that. Well, that was the difference if he shoots a firearm and discharges the load across your property.
Correct. Yep.
He ain't even got to be on it.
No, that's true. That's trespass. If the round goes across property lines, it's trespass.
So, yeah. It's an issue. It's an issue.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an issue. So, but, so I guess get into a couple comments. Corey comments and says, I heard something like only 35% harvested a report. I think it's lower than that. I think it's like 27, 28%, I think is what they estimate for reporting versus actual harvest, their estimate on their harvest, so to speak.
Well, the problem with it is they don't get a proper sampling, or they don't have a proper formula, unlike, say, somebody that's shocking the fish in the lake, tagging them, coming back in a week and shocking them again. You know, take the numbers, the tags and stuff, and then they're doing crunch the numbers. That's in this body of water, you got X number of fish, assumably.
Right.
The deer move one area, one town to the next. The deer population might not be nowhere near what it is next door.
So, a couple things that just came up. One thing I want to touch on, if we got a couple minutes, is kind of our thoughts going into the early part of deer season, and then but I first want to do a public service announcement while we're talking about this. You know, keeping your eyes out there on stuff. You know, have a good communication with your neighbors about this kind of stuff. Is obviously a big thing too. But like I saw a post today on a social media platform, guy found not far from where we found a dead deer this year in a pond, found a good buck dead in a pond. Not far from where we found the one. So this is also your public service announcement, guys. If you're out there, you see them floating, you smell dead deer near or around water, investigate it. Please report it to Econ. Somebody, try to get somebody out there to get a sample of it.
And if you especially come on to more than one,
especially if it's multiples.
Yeah.
Singulars can be outliers, injuries, infections. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they could seek water for. Get tangled up in seaweed or current in the canal or whatever. You never know.
Hit by a car.
And there's a million things that can make them seek water, but this time of year especially, I'm more leery of finding stuff, especially with outbreaks in the last few years in New York State with EHD.
Right.
And it's kind of crept forward with our light winters that we've had. It's something we got to be mindful for.
And the same thing, only different. Be mindful of. We got an early season coming up here in another 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be loss there. A certain amount of deer that get shot, especially early season.
Yep.
Thicker than a dog, as far as the bush, and makes it real tough to track them. They're real tough to track them in that alfalfa field, and it's real tough to track them in that shoulder high bean field, and so on and so on. So just because you come onto a dead deer, not necessarily EHD either, but obviously you got multiples. You got to think about it a little bit different.
Well, that's 2 dead deer. I would say I don't want to name the property where it is or whatever, because I don't want to speak about a property that we don't do anything for. But
doesn't matter.
As the crow flies, it's heading back toward Clyde, and it ain't very far.
No.
So
no.
And it made me. I messaged the guy, and I'm just like, whoa, what the fuck going on?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, my boy took the head. We buried the rest of the deer. And I'm like, did you call anybody? Did you report it?
I'm biting my tongue. Yeah, I reported it, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So, like I said,
and that's a manpower thing. I understand that.
Yeah.
But that is what it is.
And Aegis sample. This one was extremely fresh too. This one was like deer was dead less than 24 hours easily. It wasn't baking in 90-degree sun either, so that also has a lot to do with it.
Right.
But yeah, I would definitely say if you have any, even a little bit of a tingling or something, that it could be something non-natural cause.
Having said that, and that goes across the board, because I'm not going to mention any names, but we had an individual that boarded up to our property at one point in time and put out 55-gallon drums of poison and literally decimated the small animals in that piece of woods.
Game population in that
woods. The squirrels and the coon and everything was non-existent.
Yeah.
So just because, he's eating your corn, you can't kill him like that. But if you find 10 goddamn dead raccoons along the hedgerow, something ain't right there either.
And the woods goes from freaking you can't turn around without seeing a squirrel to like
little
to none.
Yeah, well, you're cussing them because it's, and then you can't find one. Yeah, no. And then when you come onto that, But anything that's out of the ordinary, when you find mass death, there's something going on.
Yeah.
Something going on.
Yeah.
Or death that's out of place.
Right. And we could keep diving into the rabbit hole, but I think we need to dig out, get to the last topic or two. Corey says again, and you still find people at Tractor Supply buying pallets of deer corn and deer crack and everything else like that. Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. It's not illegal to sell in New York, but it's illegal to use for hunting purposes in New York or feeding wildlife.
You can't even feed it.
Correct.
Feed it.
That's why I was just going to the part 2 of that.
And unless there are birds other than turkeys, you can't feed it.
Non-game. It has to be a non-game bird species. I believe it's a migratory species too. So you can't feed ducks, you can't feed.
I think the terminology is songbird.
Songbird. That might be how it's written. I'd have to look exactly how it's written, but that's no mammals. That's no It's birds. It's only birds. That is what you're allowed to feed. Songbirds.
Yeah, and that don't include Mr. Turkey or Mr. Grouse or
correct.
I would assume that if he wanders in there and has a little snack or whatever, sunflower seeds or whatever,
Under your bird feeder.
Yeah. But if you're spreading it out in the woods in a row, you might go be getting into trouble.
Yep. And just like we were talking to kind of a local the other day, and he was saying, well, I just kind of throw out 60 pounds of corn and then,
Yeah.
and I'm planting it. Yeah. You got to have some. You can't plant corn in closed canopy woods and expect it to be.
No.
The econ officer to be like, okay, you're putting in a corn plot.
Well,
like
that's one of them. Though, if you consider the source and you realize he's a knucklehead,
yeah.
Then the planting statement was pretty much for nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That was true. So that was a good word to chuckle the other day. I get.
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah. So I guess game plan going into deer season coming up. I'm actually still, as of last card pull, I still have actually a few cameras to look through, except for the ones that were on video mode that were just overloaded with over 1,000. When it has over 1,000 photo video combos, it takes me forever because each one's 10 seconds long. So I have to sit down for literally almost like an hour plus, and I just haven't had the time lately.
Well, and more times than often than not,
you got to watch the full 10 seconds.
Because if you see something and there's that, what's in that background there? That buck sticking his head out, and all you can see is the horns, and you've been watching the one in front
come out.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, what's that?
I can't tell you how many times I've saved a video.
Well, you had that one you were sporting that just the other day. It was that exact scenario. Yeah. Where the buck was coming out, another one's like, where'd he come from?
I'm sitting there watching the one in the front of the frame, and then all of a sudden the other one just below the camera picks his head up, and it's just like, whoa, that's a good buck.
Yeah, and where'd he come from?
Yep, exactly. As I'm watching, I don't know, I forget, it was probably like a 90-inch buck or something in front of the camera. He's chewing on the clover or whatnot, and then all of a sudden the other one that's camera's sitting up high in that spot, the other one picks his head up because he's like right in front of the camera.
Now he's in the frame. It's like, oh shit!
Like that's a good buck.
But on the same, like we were saying, you'd have been looking at 90-incher. He's nothing that you'd put on the hit list or anything. So okay, that video goes next video.
Yeah, if you're just
and you missed it,
if you're just clicking through them and you're just like, oh, there's the 90. Watch the video for 4 seconds. You see him pick his head up out of the clover and chew it a little bit.
He was here. He was here last night. Click. Yeah.
And again, that was only one of the only videos we got, and it was just
of
that buck, and it was just him picking his head up, and it was like, ooh, that's a good buck.
And that was the end of the video too.
Yeah, it was like picks his head up, doesn't even turn it, just picks it up into the frame, and then try to rewind it, get it to like second number 9, and then hit the pause button.
Doesn't make it any longer at the end. Though,
no, it doesn't stretch with the added movement with the cameras rerun. Some do. I mean, there's cameras with all sorts of features now. Shoot, there's a camera that I forget the company, but they got a 360 lens on it now that literally picks up anywhere. Like you put it in the middle of a freaking food plot and it'll go 360. Yeah. My only issue with that is I feel like during the day it's going to track sunlight and going to track heat with the sun, and you're going to get a lot of falsies on your east and west.
Well, just putting it out in the middle is going to give you issues right there anyway.
Yeah, with glare angles and stuff like that, you know. Yeah. I get the concept. I love the idea, but I don't know how the execution of it's going to work with that. I can't remember the brand of it. But
today, the technology is not there yet. I'm quite sure that they'll have that figured out in the near future, aka stuff that they got for surveillance and so on now. Mm-hmm. Just have to be marketable and affordable.
Yeah, and that's what the big thing with us.
Well, just think about what cameras used to be.
And cell cameras.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
especially cell cameras.
Goddamn go break putting batteries into them.
You still do. I mean, when we're running as many as we do, and we run pretty.
Yeah, but shit, we were only running 2, 3, and we're still feeding them every 3, 4 days on goddamn SIG battery.
Yeah, those C's and D's were
holy crapster.
Those were not efficient batteries.
And the cameras weren't nowhere near what they are now either.
Wild views or whatever I can't even remember what they were.
They were from all standpoints. It was technology. That's 10 years ago, man.
And you can get good cameras. I mean, we run a lot of The Exodus cameras, because of their warranty, they stand behind it. The thing fucks up or breaks during that 5-year no BS warranty, they send you a goddamn whole new camera. And then the warranty on that camera starts that day.
Yeah.
So Exodus has been good. You pay a little bit more for them. They don't offer non-senders as much anymore because that's where the market shifted to. So that's where they're investing in it. So we haven't bought new Exodus ones basically since they senders. But we run a lot of those covert crossovers, those 2-piece ones with the square ones with the housing. You can get those. I saw them online the other day. You can get those online at Dick's. I think they're $75 a camera now.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's a phenomenal camera for that price. And the video mode's great if you want to run video. They sip battery life.
I was gonna say they're thrifty.
They last forever.
Yeah.
They don't go bad within reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking not putting cameras out September, October, November, December. We pull cameras. We're running cameras 10 to 12 months out of the year. The only time they maybe come in is when they died during post-turkey season or something like that.
Yeah, you're doing a switch up or whatever you want to call it.
Or we don't need to be running the full
or it's
the full stack.
Yeah, or it's in a spot where there's no intel needed there.
Yeah.
They're not gonna do anything by keeping the camera hanging on that telephone pole.
Once, antler drop and the camera's died off, there's no point to retool it up in April if it's not a spot where we're going to be looking at turkeys.
Right.
But dude, we had one that literally ran all through turkey season, and I put it was an Exodus on the ridge just down from First Trail. I put batteries in that camera. I went back. I put batteries in that camera the first week of November, and we pulled it almost all the way. It went on full 3-burst photo mode from first week in November to the first week of August. Almost got 9 damn months out of that camera.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of pictures on that ridge.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's not 5 pictures a month either.
The other thing is too, when we're talking battery life, and that's a whole different conversation, but when you're talking battery life, that has a lot of daytime activity. So it has a lot of photos, but it takes less battery juice for daytime photos because it's not powering the lights.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So that's a big reason why that one lasts so long. Is just because of the daylight activity that camera gets a lot of times. Because every time those bulbs flash, like if you're getting like lit up at night, like food plot cameras, those are some of our quickest ones to burn out. They get a lot of deer pictures, and they get a lot of evening, nighttime photos that cue those bulbs. Those ones go down the quickest for our batteries, just because they're working harder. It's no different than like we were talking when we were mowing a lawn the other day together. The freaking machines were just dumping through fuel, but it's thick, it was heavy, hadn't been mowed in a while.
Yeah.
It's different use on the equipment. So, but yeah, I got the 1-year rule. There's a couple bucks that haven't shown back up yet, or I don't know that they're those bucks. One of them in particular, Stretch, he's got that really screwed up ear, and I have not seen that buck for sure this year. Crafty's back. Crafty looks like he's slotting. I look back at more photos. He slotted right in on his 1 year. That might be
bigger though either.
No, well, I can't say that because this is when he hits his growth spurt in August, where a lot of these other deer they get more of their frame in July.
What's he, 5, 6?
I believe he's 4. Well, last year he was 3 or 4, and I wasn't quite sure to pull the trigger on him. So this year he's either 4 or 5, from what I can gather basically from history with him. He might have been 4 last year, and he might have just got the lucky slide or whatever from from a couple instances, but it's possible that he is a 5-year-old this year, and he just got lucky last year, and I kind of underjudged him. He was actually in there the same morning that I killed Curly. He was in there about a half hour before Curly came through. Actually, about a half hour before I came into the blind, he was on that camera by there, heading north, which is where Curly came from, heading up into that same kind of north loop that morning, right where you're supposed to be on the 1 year. On historical, he'd been there for the last 3-4 days, slotted into that spot. We could watch it on the 1 year where he slotted into that spot for like 5-6 days straight, on daylight. And we're like, we got to move in on him. It's opening day. And once he do come rolling out at first light, literally had to wait for the clock to go ding and gun go boom. So, so that's what most of the way we hunt is 1 year. Food source and camera intel obviously changes that. Hornet was one of those deer. He wasn't a 1 year buck. He was just on food consistently. Real good 10-point. And we moved in early, killed him on food. Acorns this year, we don't have a big massed component for acorns on our properties, so that's not something we go out and scout regularly. It's a deadly tactic if you can get out there and scout them now with a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, especially if you're in a place that if
that's your mast.
That's their candy dish.
Yep.
You know, they don't have cornfield over the hill, bean field around the corner. You know, alfalfa. If any acorns are hitting the dirt, they're chomping them, and that's indicative of southern tier, different type of terrain, so to speak. You know, not so much
big woods habitat.
Well, it is, and the reason you get row crop and stuff around it, you got a little more smorgasbord going on, so it's not as impactful.
Yep, but looking at those soft mass or whatnot, gotcha. But that's kind of our spiel for the night, and I don't know. Do we want to show them the proof in the pudding post with the 1 year rule? You good with that? Close out the show.
Yeah.
So we'll give you a sneak peek on.
That's all right. I'll dig a hole for the I'll dig a hole for the trespasser. Go ahead, show it to them.
We will. There we go. If I can get it. Oh, I screwed up.
This is 1 year ago and this year, correct?
Yeah. So if you look at the dates on the screen, this is 7/28. Like we said, he's sliding right back into his pattern. This is his closest one, I will say, for his actual physical time. But this is 7/28, 2023. This is the same camera. The only reason you can't see the side of the trail here is because it's covered with the old photo. You got 7/28, 2023 at 7:59 in the morning, approximately 60 degrees out. Here comes Crafty cutting across this kind of spot by this mock scrape that's right here. And then you got July 28th, 2024, 6:57, same exact buck, same exact trail within an hour.
Same exact day.
Same exact day. And we say it a lot with this. If you guys aren't at least take it into consideration, not saying you have to live and die by it, because we definitely don't either. We use it as good, reputable information. If you're not at least looking back at some of your old photos, and it might be looking back 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, George was killed not on specifically him, but looking when we had a specific hot doe in a wood block.
Well, that's the point I was just going to make. Mm-hmm. That in particular, obviously, same buck, same day, same hour, whatever, same. If something would have happened to that buck, allegedly hit by a car,
killed by another hunter,
got shot in the bean field because he was whatever. If that's a good area, I would assume, and I would put money onto, more than assume, that another buck of equal or better will slot into his spot in that exact same time, date and or spot, because that buck's there for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
And if he's not there for a reason because he got shot or run over, there's going to be another one there for the reason.
There's a handful of spots and bucks that we hunt Halloween. Deep ditch. Every year. Where did I pass Crafty last year? Halloween. Deep ditch.
Same thing. What's the and I can't pull the date out of my head either, but what's the date for Gravity Cavity?
December 15th is always good up there. 28th, November 28th.
November, that's the one I'm
November 28th.
That's the one I'm looking for.
November 28th up there is hot. And the 15th of December is always good up there too.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
21 days. Count 21 days on a calendar.
I know. That's, yeah, exactly. So there's more proof in the pudding that it's the ladies that are just like anything going on.
Yeah.
Ladies night or chili cook-off or whatever, if the girls are going to be there,
Yep.
somebody's going to be around looking.
Yep.
You
So
know, and that's just, you know,
yeah.
and when you start playing that 24-hour thing and you get it sharpened to that point, you're not necessarily shooting or hunting that particular buck, but whoever's doing the tending that night.
Mhm.
You know, case in point, that buck that I shot last year with the bow, he got stuck because he had a screwed up rack, and I thought it was a genetic thing, but that's not the buck that I was looking for. He just happened to come out earlier than the buck that I was looking for.
Mhm.
So then he was out looking around to see what was going on.
Yep. Yeah. And then shoot, freaking double wide was right on the 1 year like you're supposed to.
Yeah, both times I had him.
Both days.
And when I had him with the bow, and I didn't let him go because I didn't have no help, and he was there with the rifle.
Yep.
To the day. Boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
The same goddamn stand.
Yeah. No, but I'm not knocking it.
Looking out the same window.
Yeah.
What can I tell you?
Like we said, it's something that, you know, and Brandon brought it up as to how that even started. He showed me an article, and I was just like, and of course, I've always kept year to year to year to year pictures, and I was like, that's kind of a neat idea. And theirs was a 7-day span, is what they look at.
Yeah.
And they figure day X plus 3 minus 3 is a buck's window if you get a picture of them.
Well, I
and
think
what we've found is it gets, especially when that deer gets older, when that deer gets into that 4+ year, 5 year, 6 year range, that is when that just gets hammered so far home that those days are so defined.
Okay, I'm going to give ourselves a pat on the back. And I'm going to explain myself 2 different ways before I give my pat on the back. Okay, the buck's there at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, year in, year out, whatever buck. Got pictorial pictures of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the doe group. Here's the money shot. The doe group that we hunt thriftily,
mm-hmm.
or whatever, that might not even be the word, but
we're not with a management purpose.
We hunt it with the intent of not changing that doe group,
mm-hmm.
meaning it's
they're in around,
where they live, their home range. If you don't change that home range, for all intents and purposes, there's going to be a buck there
stays consistent
on that date because you didn't shoot every one but one of them doe out of that, and she don't live there no more.
Yeah, because another group pushed her off and they cycled it or whatever.
Or exactly. So having the way that we hunt the does, that 4 or 5 rule, 6 rule, whatever, coming in the field, however way you want to slice it, and the times that we harvest our does, meaning some of them are harvested specifically late season because they don't belong there to begin with.
Yeah, when they stack on food and stuff.
Exactly. Absolutely. That, I think, keeps things intact, so that that reliable.
Without shooting them with ear tags in their ear.
Without the reliability.
Yep.
Okay, because that gives you a little bit of 7-day. Well, we got it pinched down because of the amount of cameras we run, and that doe group is still the same as it was last year, even though 2 of them aren't with it no more.
Right.
And I think that is a governing factor.
Oh, I think that's huge. I think the does,
as far
especially once you get in November.
And
October,
November. And right straight through December too.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Gravity Cabbie, case in point. Start, going on your fingers.
Start looking back at the dates.
Yeah, exactly.
Check the magic book.
Yeah.
Go right down through.
But I'm throwing a card on the doe.
We could be completely wrong.
How could you?
We could be completely wrong. And
okay, what scenario can you play that's going to make that completely false?
Once in a while, you roll a bunch of 7s in a row, and we've gotten pretty lucky. We're rolling some 7s in a row. It's entirely possible, but the data kind of doesn't lie. Once you put data to it and dates and the success that it's shown with that data, you kind of can't argue that it works. Now, it might not work as specific for your piece. It might be more of broken habitats, broken doe groups, stuff like that. It could change,
It sure could, and it's not a matter of shooting them out. If the neighbor comes in and completely clear cuts it, and they use his ground primarily, but they use your ground that week or 10 days or whatever, and they don't live there no more, either they moved in on you or they want moved away.
Right.
So that
you got to look at outside factors too.
Yeah, that is, but that's a big impact. As is 5 in, none out.
Well, and again,
if you do that, you know.
Well, and then again, the other big thing is, and we talk about it all the time too, is your stand location and your woodsmanship and your scouting is how we kill that deer. It's not the cameras and the dates help us identify what buck we're going in after based on historical pattern. But if you had a crap stand set up, could you kill him? It's possible. But if you got a bulletproof stand that's tried and true, with hunting with the right conditions with the wind, on a 1 year, you got too many things stacking up to be to your benefit.
Yeah, but you can't do stupid stuff and get away with it.
No, and you can't burn out a spot just because it's your quote favorite stand and you got an east wind and it don't work for east winds. You don't sit that stand.
And same thing, only different. If you got a stand that's for the east wind, and that's what it's there for, you better be sitting in that son of a bitch.
That was freaking Hornet. Hornet was that south wind or the southeast in that corner that you set the stand for. Thank you.
For east wind.
Yep. And we got that.
And it ain't no good for nothing else but.
Yeah. No, it literally is.
Well, and part of that's because they're right on you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on the fringe. I mean, you're on
the only way you get away with that is because he's kind of just in behind. When they come out, they're not in your face, like we said before. They're kind of working their way through. But they use that corner on purpose because there ain't a whole lot of ways that the wind's blowing that they can't cover it.
Yeah, ridge
except for that one east wind.
Yeah, ridge, eyes drop. The way that all kind of lays out, that it's kind of a little bit of a bear getting into with access. You got to go in to kill, or you basically forego it. But how many times do you get an east wind multiple times in 10 days? That the right east wind that's not switchy east. You get any kind of switch, it's got to be a true east.
Because they can't.
Otherwise, you can't sit it.
No, it can't violate you because
you're done. Because it'll blow that whole food source out.
And
and there's been times that I've walked towards stands. The wind wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be that night, and I've switched directions, sent a text, and I've gone to a different stand. Just because the wind starts rolling through and you're like, this isn't going to be quite true enough tonight. I got to shift. I gotta get something with a little bit more fringe shift or whatever.
This ain't gonna make it.
Yep. And again, you gotta hunt that, and you gotta hunt it smart and know when to make that move. And we break the farm into like 5 zones when we break up that 1 year too. So it's zone 1 is where we're hunting him. We might have him on the first trail or whatever in zone 1, but I might hunt him almost a deep ditch on the edge of zone 2 because that's where I got the right wind and the right stand in that zone or that zone fringe to hunt.
And that's the second or the first camera. It depends on how he's coming into that area.
He shifts next.
You might have him hitting on that camera and then an hour later hitting on this one and then whatever. You got to get him the hour early or the hour late or whatever because of the.
Yep, you go which way he's typically is shifted historically too. I think he's coming out of zone 1 in this time frame. He's heading towards zone 2 for a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you look right down the list with the dates and where the camera is. I put it all right on the list, and we'll do a video on it. I talked about doing a video over by the board of going through a deer and talking about shifting from zone 1 here to zone 3 or whatever.
In order to do that, you're going to have meat on the wall too.
Yeah.
You just can't say, we're going to. This is what we did. This is what we did. This is how we did it. And here he is. We're eating sausage tonight or whatever.
Well, and then you had everything up. We just had 1 year rule, bulletproof stand, the right access, the right woodsmanship, everything selected right. You throw a freaking weather front on top of all that.
No, that's
you throw all that into the freaking.
That's a governing factor with the wind direction and
consistency and everything. Oh yeah. So, all right. We're going to hit this last comment. Roger Fuller says, good evening, gents. Good evening. And we've been going for an hour and a half. I've pushed a little bit of the envelope tonight. So I got to get up, get Nora her last bottle, get her to bed. I'll be at the Woods and Wildlife Show the next 3 days over there in Canandaigua. Free admission, free parking this year. They got a ton of door prize giveaways and stuff like that. Check out, I'll be over there at the Whitetail Properties booth with Tim and Heather on different days. They have showings and stuff like that. I'm big man in the booth all 3 days. Nora will be with me all 3 days as well, most of the days. Hanging out. Got the pack and play, got to load that up. Got a good spot with good, not being in the sun, all that stuff for her. Big adequate booth space, 20 by 10. So plenty of room for the pack and play and all that stuff to talk deer and habitat. We're right outside the seminar tent, and there's some good seminars, and we'll probably have a roundtable discussion on Saturday afternoon. I think that's going to be around 2:00. Do some live Q&A, and we're going to probably stream that for the podcast as well. So a lot of cool stuff with that. And yeah, other than that, chicken barbecue was a big success last week. That was really good. Just going through the last of the current events. And then, and then the next couple weeks are kind of busy. Showings I have scheduled out ahead of time. Folks coming in from out of town. 6th, 7th, and 8th is the Finanza there at Seneca Lake Duck Hunters, the show that I go do and shoot every year. We'll see if I can defend my hunter class title this year again or not. And then the 8th from noon to 3 is the party at Smoking Tails Distillery, their Sportsman's Day, where they do their sportsman's release for the year. So that's kind of the next 2 weeks in a nutshell. And then we're right into September and knocking on the door of October. So it's coming. It's coming quick. So anything left to add?
Talk all night.
Yeah, I know we can.
That's what happens when you're full of bullshit.
Yeah. It just fills up. It just fills up.
It just runs over, dude.
Yep. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like the episodes, please consider subscribing to the channel, sharing around with friends and family. We're on all your major podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and all that stuff as well with the shows. And catch you guys all next time here at the show with 100 Proof Whitetails. See you.
See ya.